Hello, Playful Eco Warriors, and welcome to another episode of Climate for Fun, the podcast that turns climate change into a laughing matter. Here's Antonio Salituro, climate scientist, writer, and comedian. I'm thrilled to have David Rosenthal with me today. David is a painter who pictured ice melting over the last 50 years, 50. Welcome, David, and thanks for joining me.
Well, thanks for having me.
So let's crack on with some question then, right? Okay. David, your last exhibition is called Painting at the End of the Ice Age and is at the Anchorage Museum in Alaska, I guess still there. Um, by visiting it, people can see the icy landscapes you painted over the last 50 years. That's what I call a nice melting portfolio. Was it enough to steal David Attenborough's job? I mean, no, seriously, you witnessed its dreadful change so closely. So how did it make you feel?
Really makes me feel very bad about to watch
Yeah,
this retreat of the ice and
yeah,
to look back on the incredible things that I've seen over those years that are now no longer there. And
yeah.
younger generations will never see this.
Wow. God, that's a bit sad. Yeah. Anyway, so your artworks are the creative proof of one of the climate change we're experiencing, right? So, what would you say to deniers? I mean, swear words are not allowed, of course. There
Yeah, well, that's a
you go. You're
good
laughing. You're laughing.
admonition
You're
there.
laughing.
Well, the only thing I can say to climate deniers, and that's one of the purposes of this exhibit. This is kind of
Yeah.
what I'm saying to them is I'm showing exactly what I saw. And you can maybe see in the paintings behind me how realistic
Yeah. Yeah.
my paintings are. I say that they're more realistic than photos. And
Yeah.
so they show what I actually witnessed. And so for those deniers who tell me it's the real radical deniers who go, "Oh, it's all a hoax." All I can say is look at my 50-year career and tell me that I made it all up.
I mean, because obviously, with the artificial intelligence that they could claim that, like photos were modified or altered and stuff. But that's your work. Even though I must admit they look like pictures. Wow, that's crazy. I mean, honestly, wow, well done. But yeah, like you're done with your own hands. So there's no tempering with those. Like you can actually replicate. Live. So anyway, that's an interesting point of view. That's for sure. The just change a little bit topic. So there's a new trend called last chance tourism, right? So in short, people are going to take pictures of things which are disappearing because of climate change, like glaciers, right? And put them on social media. So have you thought of opening a B&B yet? I mean, I can already see your paintings in the breakfast room. I mean, it's an idea that,
Well, they're all over my house. So if I did open a B&B, yeah, that would be they'd get a chance to see what they missed.
I mean, honestly, there is this trend is real. I mean, I haven't made it up. I mean, I don't know if you heard about it, but that could be your hard work is actually in tourist attractions, if you can tell.
It is in this little town that I live in Cordova. It is almost a tourist attraction because
Okay.
people, when it's rainy and they have guests here visiting, they
Yeah.
many times will bring guests over for something to do, and
Okay.
I love it because I love showing my work.
Yeah. Of
So
course.
uh, yeah, it's that's one of the things about this whole show and et cetera. It's been a great benefit to me to have this show because all kinds of people are looking at my artwork as a result of it. And but that's not the reason I've done it. I'm hoping it's educational and like I say, I one of the things I've learned uh, is that it doesn't work to be real confrontational, and I'm not scolding anybody about, oh, you haven't done enough for climate, prevent
Yeah.
climate change, because the fact is, when I look back on my career, I'm one of the biggest culprits too. I mean,
Yeah.
when I spent uh, in a 10-year period, I spent 5 years on the ice down in Antarctica, and that's
Yeah.
4 winters and 6 summers. And during that period, you can't imagine how much fossil fuels were burned for transport, C-130s, C uh, 140s, and helicopters, UE
Yeah.
helicopters taking me places, tracked vehicles, all, I mean, uh,
Okay.
I'm one of the culprits. I just went about my business going to these incredible places, and at the same
Yeah.
time, I was causing the problems. And so I don't scold anybody. I just hope that younger generations and maybe some of us older people will look at my work and see the changes, how rapid they are, and maybe
Hmm.
change our. I know at least I've started to change my ways a little late, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
uh, it, it's so that's what the show is about, is to get people
Yeah.
hopefully in a non-confrontational way to
Yeah.
understand that this is happening and it is accelerating.
So now I'm just thinking about something. So was there a time in particular, something in particular that made you tick, like, that your conflict, obviously, maybe it was a kind of gradual, a crescendo, your internal conflict, between, okay, I want to do this because it's my career, and oh, actually, I'm damaging the planet. So, when did this conflict start coming out?
Well, it always has been there from when I
Yeah.
was, I mean, I first heard of climate warming theories about it back in grade school, basically. And
Wow.
I pretty much ignored it. I noticed it because I grew up in Maine, and Maine itself was growing much warmer. And then I came to Alaska and I found the same thing. And then Antarctica, the same thing. And so progressively it became more and more obvious. But it really started to bother me because uh, the last decade or two has just seen an acceleration of this. And so what happened was I I realized that I could get my artwork shown more if I included a science component with the artwork, because science has always been a part of my work. As you can see from the
Yeah.
realism, it's because of I understand the world through science, and then I can portray it.
Yeah.
So so I started this traveling exhibit, and I got the title Painting at the End of the Ice Age from a painting that I had done from up in Greenland about 20 years ago, that
Mm.
I called the painting The End of the Ice Age because it was the edge of the Greenland ice cap that I was painting. And you could see where the actual ice cap was retreating at its edges by 10, 20 feet a year. You could see it written in the vegetation. So at any rate, I had a small show at a little museum in Valdez, Alaska in 2019, and that was the first showing of it. And then it's come here to back to Cordova where I live, and then to Homer, Alaska, then to the State Museum in Juneau, Alaska, and now it's at the Anchorage Museum for this almost
Yeah.
a year. It'll be up until September 14th this coming year.
Cool.
But it's evolved, and at the same time, I've been immersed in the subject for 5 years now, and it really it really hits home when you immerse yourself and you read all the science articles on every
Yeah.
time they make a prediction. It's and they give a range of, oh, it could be this bad or it could be this, not so bad. It's always this bad, when it comes to pass. And
Yeah.
then you start another prediction and it's the same thing and it's just accelerating. And so it wasn't just like one point in time. It's been a progression of me building this exhibit to where it is now and my thoughts on it growing more and more concerned. And one of the things that I've come across a lot is people who want to educate about climate change and do something about it is they warn you not to paint too dark of a picture because then people will just go, okay, well, there's nothing we can do about it. Uh,
Yeah.
but there is things that we can do about it. It is very dark. The future does not look good, but we can at least mitigate and slow it
Yeah.
down, maybe. That's
Yeah.
and what else are you gonna do? You're gonna just sit
Yeah.
there and hope, you know?
Yeah. You can't ignore it like that. Now that we know better. Well, we have been known for a while, but anyway. So talking about mitigation, someone who clearly is not mitigating, uh, talking about Greenland as well. Not sure if you heard, but a Greenland startup is shipping ice cubes to Dubai bars so that they can use them to make super expensive cocktails. So, did you see people drink it too much when you were over there? I mean, what was going on there?
Well, well, that's not really a new thing.
All
Uh,
right.
Up here in Alaska, oh, I forget, maybe 20, 30 years ago, the state gave permits to a company that their plan was to go and get glacier icebergs from some of the bays and to
All right.
harvest that ice and do the same thing.
Uh,
It's not a new idea, and they've been doing it in
right.
Newfoundland for years too. I think there
All
was even
right.
a reality TV show on these
No
people
way.
going
Huh.
out and shooting at icebergs to make it calve and then picking up the ice and bringing it back and
Wow.
sending it around the world.
Crazy. Right. So, okay. So, coming to something more personal. So, in an interview, I read that you said, I've become a kind of an activist, right? So, there is a question I always ask in this case. Well, for painters like you, for artists like you, would you be happy if activists threw tomato soup on one of your painting to raise awareness on ice melting, or you freeze their asses off? That's
Well, I'm not sure why are you referring to Andy Warhol's Campbell soup cans or what were you saying about the tomato
oh
soup?
no. No, no. Have you heard about those activists throwing tomato soup on Van Gogh or, other paintings?
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
That's what I meant.
yeah,
Yeah, since you
I'm
said
not
you're an
I'm not
activist.
real fond of that type of
Okay,
protest.
okay, fair enough.
I think I think they're reaching or they're making the wrong audience really upset and not getting their message about climate change. It's being overshadowed by people
Mm.
being just horrified that they're trying to damage some of the great works of art in the world. So,
Yeah, it's a bit controversial there, even though, well, like, they attract the attention of media, that's for sure. So in a way,
yeah.
they may talk about themselves and indirectly about climate change. I don't know, I'm a bit, I think if it's done in a certain way, it can help. Like, for example, many times, well, sometimes, like, the Van Gogh example, like, they actually threw tomato soup on the glass covering the painting, not on the actual painting, but maybe, people are okay, read just the title and then, they don't really dig in. Anyway, it's like a bit of a controversial one. Right, so let's go on the quiz. part. Yeah. So are you ready for this? Like three
Okay.
multiple choice questions. And for each question, you got three possible answers, right? Okay. So the first question is the company Ice Rebus makes ice vending machines, claiming to reduce CO2 emission compared to standard equipment. So, was the CO2 emission reduction achieved by 100 of their machines equal to? You got three options to choose from, right? So, option A, burning around 200 pounds of coal. Option B, burning around 200 paintings by David Rosenthal. Option C, burning around 200 electoral leaflets with Donald Trump face on.
Yeah, well, I guess the coal, so
Yeah, wow, that's correct. That's correct. Okay, so question two. Who said that rising ocean levels would simply lead to more oceanfront property? Option A, David Rosenthal, after sitting on a glacier for hours and freezing his ass off. Option B, David Rosenthal, after drinking too many cocktails with Greenland ice cubes.
yeah.
Option C, Donald Trump.
Yeah, I'd have to go with option three. I think I heard that. I've seen that quote. So,
That's crazy, but it's correct. Last question. So, who experiences cooling poverty? Sorry, cooling poverty. Option A, poor people who visit David Rosenthal exhibition. Option B, poor people struggling with heat waves even more because they can't afford to buy a cooling system. Option C, poor people who feel cool. It's a tricky one.
well, yeah, that is a tricky one. Yeah, you broke up on the first part of the question. Could you could
Okay,
you
so
repeat the
who
question for
who
me?
who experiences cooling poverty? Yeah. So the option
Oh, all
are
right. Okay.
yeah. Option A
Well,
was poor
I would
people who
say,
yeah, go for it.
yeah, I would say that the people who can't afford cooling, uh,
Yeah,
you know, air
that's correct.
conditioning, because
It's crazy because
that's what this is all, one of the things about this show. Like I
yeah,
mentioned, I'm one of the culprits. The United States is the major culprit,
one out there, yeah,
with our unfettered use of, and our adamant, so many of the people in this country are so adamant that, oh, it's a hoax and I'm going to
yeah,
use as much fuel as possible, which once again, I'm part of that group because getting me to these places just cost, a tremendous amount of CO2
yeah,
into the atmosphere, the fossil fuels. So, and then you look at the rest of the world, there's parts of the world that will become uninhabitable because of the heat,
yeah.
unless you do have air conditioning. And
That's
not
crazy.
a lot of these poor countries, people just don't have that.
Yeah, yeah, that's a tragic irony of climate change, like those who contribute less are affected the most. That's,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you have
unfortunately.
some of these islands. Well, even here in Alaska, we have some villages on the west coast and the
Yeah,
northwest coast that are
yeah,
literally having to move,
right.
you know,
Already,
10,
already,
yeah,
now.
already. There, there was
Wow.
a couple of villages, I forget the name of them, but they had to move their whole village 10 miles or
Wow.
more away from where it was sited because the
Gosh.
rising sea level, it's very flat up there, and the rising sea
Yeah.
level was inundating their village.
Gosh. Wow. That's crazy. Oh well. Well, that's the end of this climate fun for fun episode. David, thank you so much for your contribution. We
Well,
tried to laugh. It was hard, but thanks a lot for
I
trying.
know as I think we talked about earlier through email that I'm not very funny. And
Oh,
the
well, it's not about being funny, is it?
the whole subject is it's very difficult to find a funny part to it.
Oh yeah, oh
So
yeah. I've been trying to do it, but I can tell you that it's been hard. But in a way, it's good to try to you know make it a bit less dramatic, because obviously, as you were saying before, if you put it too horrific, and people will be put off, and they won't do much. That's all, the whole sense of all
yeah.
this thing, like engage people with a bit of irony, a bit,
Well, yeah,
just
I think you trying to make it funny is kind of the equivalent to me with my
yeah,
paintings trying to show the beauty of these
ex-
landscapes
exactly, yeah,
and
yeah,
so to soften to soften it all and hopefully still get through on the message. So I
yeah.
appreciate the opportunity to talk about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, no, no, no. I love it. I mean, what you do is great, to be honest. I mean, yeah, and that's all about it. I'm trying to kind of collect all these kind of different expression of the same message, really, because art is not just about science. I mean, science alone can't make it. You need some kind of other sort of vehicle to put across the message. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. I mean,
science is the, yeah,
many times people do just turn off science. And
yeah,
so anything that you can do to bring attention to the science from other things
yeah,
like humor or
yeah, yeah, yeah.
painting or art or whatever is
Exactly.
good.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, good luck with the rest of your exhibition, and catch up soon, right? Thanks a lot again,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Cheers.
Yeah.